I didn't think anything was wrong at first. I've always preferred the night shift. Less people, less talking, less pressure. It was just me, the silence, and the constant hum of the forklift moving through the warehouse. Sometimes, that sound was the only thing reminding me I wasn't completely alone. I started at Warehouse 11 on a Tuesday, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The place was massive, one of those old industrial buildings where the lights don't quite reach the end of the corridors. Rows and rows of shelves, stacked higher than they should be, disappearing into shadow. You could stand there, stare all the way down, and still feel like something wasn't right. Like the darkness at the end wasn't just darkness. On my first night, the supervisor gave me the usual instructions: where things were, how the system worked, or what to do if something went wrong. He spoke fast, like he'd said it all 100 times before. And then he slowed down. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Stay out of corridor G after 3 a.m. I laughed. I thought he was joking. He didn't laugh back. His face didn't change at all. "If you need anything, call someone. Don't go there alone." There was a pause after that, like he was waiting for me to ask why. I didn't. Places like that always have weird rules. Locked doors, restricted sections, areas under maintenance. At least, that's what I thought. The first few nights were normal. Moving pallets, scanning barcodes, organizing stock, the kind of repetitive work that makes time blur. Sometimes I'd hear distant noises, metal settling, something shifting far away, but that's normal in a place like that. At least, that's what I kept telling myself, until the third night. 3:12 a.m. The system froze. The screen flickered once, then stopped responding. I tried restarting it. Nothing. I needed to pick up a batch from corridor G. I stared at the screen, remembering what he said. Then I checked the clock again. 3:12. I sighed and went anyway. Corridor G felt different the moment I turned into it. Narrower, darker, quieter, like the air itself was heavier. The lights flickered, like they couldn't decide if they wanted to stay on. Some of them buzzed. Others were completely dead. The sound of the forklift echoed there, too loud, too empty. Every movement felt amplified. That's when I noticed the floor. It was wet, not water. Something thicker. It stretched across the concrete in uneven streaks, like something had been dragged slowly. I slowed down. The forklift wheels rolled through it, leaving faint tracks behind. I stopped the forklift and stepped down. The smell wasn't strong yet, but it was there. Metallic, faint, but unmistakable. Everything felt muffled, like the corridor was swallowing sound. Then I heard it, something metallic, scraping across the ground. I froze. "Hello?" My voice didn't travel far. It just died in the air. No answer, just silence. Then again. Longer this time. Slower, closer, coming from deeper inside the corridor. I grabbed the flashlight from the forklift. The beam shook slightly in my hand. I moved forward slowly, one step at a time. And for a split second, when the light flickered, I saw someone, or something, standing between the shelves, too still, too tall. The shape didn't move, but it felt like it was watching me. I blinked. It was gone. The space between the shelves was empty again. But something had changed. A box, slightly open, one I hadn't noticed before. I stepped closer, and the smell hit me all at once. Strong, heavy, iron, blood, inside the box. I couldn't see clearly. Just something dark. Something wrong. I stepped back immediately. My chest tightened, and then, right next to my ear, so close I could feel the breath, a voice whispered, "You shouldn't be here." I didn't turn around. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't think. I just ran. The sound of my footsteps echoed behind me, and for a moment, I thought I heard something else following, dragging, keeping pace. I left everything. The forklift, the box, the corridor, all of it. I didn't even clock out. I just got in my car and drove. The next day, I checked the system. I don't know why. Maybe I was hoping. I imagined it. Maybe I wanted proof that it wasn't real. But there it was. Movement logged in corridor G at 3:14 a.m. under my login. There was even a scan registered. One item processed. The problem is, at that exact time, I was already outside, halfway to my car. And there's one more thing. That item? It was marked as relocated, but no one has been able to find where it went. And to this day, I still don't know who used it. It started like any other night. Quiet, predictable, empty. I worked as a night doorman in a commercial building, offices, clinics, a few empty floors. Nothing unusual. After 10 p.m., the place was dead. Just me, the cameras, and the silence. Or at least, that's what I thought. Most nights followed the same routine. Checking doors, watching the monitors, walking slow circles through the lobby. The kind of job where time stretches, where minutes feel longer than they should. Sometimes I'd sit there, staring at the screens, barely blinking, just letting the quiet settle in. You get used to it, or at least, you think you do. It was 2:37 a.m. when one of the cameras flickered. Sixth floor. The image glitched for a second, static cutting through the screen. And then it came back. That's when I saw him. A man, standing in the hallway, not moving, not pacing, just standing there, perfectly still. At first I thought it was a reflection, something from another camera overlapping, but no. He was there, clear enough to see the shape, the posture, the outline of a person. I leaned closer to the monitor, adjusting the angle, trying to make sense of it. I picked up the intercom. "Sir, the building is closed. Do you need assistance?" Nothing. No reaction. No movement. Not even a shift in posture. He just stood there, with his back to the camera. Too still. That's what bothered me the most. People move, even when they're standing still. Breathing. Shifting weight. Something. He didn't. That's when I decided to go up. I grabbed the master key, walked to the elevator, and pressed the button. The doors opened with that low mechanical sound that always echoes too much at night. I stepped in, pressed 6. The elevator started moving. Slow. Steady. 3, 4, 5. For some reason, my finger hovered over the panel. Like I could still cancel it. Like I should. But I didn't. The doors opened. The hallway was empty. Lights on. Cold. Steady. No sound. No movement. Just that same sterile silence. I stepped out slowly, listening. Nothing. I walked the corridor, one end to the other, checking every door, every corner. I even opened a few offices, just in case. Chairs, desks, untouched. Everything exactly where it should be. Except for one thing. The air felt wrong, heavy, like I wasn't alone, even though I couldn't see anyone. I checked the stairwell, empty. I checked the emergency exit, blocked. There was nowhere he could have gone. I went back down, faster this time, trying not to think about it too much, trying to find a logical explanation. But when I looked at the monitor again, he was still there. Same position, same place. Like I had never gone up at all. My stomach dropped. I had just been there. How was that possible? The next night, it happened again. 2:37 a.m. exactly. No delay, no variation. Like something scheduled. Same camera, same hallway, same man. Standing, not moving, back turned. This time, I didn't go up. I stayed at the desk, watching, waiting. I told myself I wouldn't move, no matter what happened. Minutes passed. Nothing changed. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. Every second felt stretched. And then he moved. Slowly. Not a step, not a shift. Just his head. Turning. Inch by inch. But his body stayed completely still. Like it wasn't connected. Like it didn't need to be. Until he was looking over his shoulder, directly at the camera. Directly at me. I felt it instantly. That cold, sinking feeling when you know something is looking back. The image started to distort, thin lines cutting across the screen. The lights in the lobby flickered once. I didn't move. I couldn't. The screen froze. For a second, everything went completely silent. No hum, no noise, nothing. When it came back, he was facing the camera. His face, blurred, not out of focus, but like the system couldn't process it, like it wasn't supposed to be seen. But I could still tell. He was smiling. Too wide. Too still. Unnatural. The feed cut for a second. Then returned. Empty hallway. No one there. I stayed there for a long time after that. Not moving. Just staring at the screen. Waiting for it to happen again. It didn't. The next morning, I checked the system logs. I needed something real. Something that made sense. Every night, at exactly 2:37 a.m., the camera detected movement. Always the same spot. Always the same duration. But under identification, there was nothing. No face recognition, no body classification, just a label. Unrecognized object. I went back further. Days, weeks, months. It was always there. Same time, same place. Even on nights I wasn't working. Even on nights the building was completely closed. It didn't matter. 2:37 a.m. It appeared. I checked other cameras, just in case. Nothing. Only the 6th floor. Only that corridor. Like it was contained. Or waiting. I quit that week. Didn't give much explanation. I just said I've had enough of working the night shifts. They didn't ask questions. They just nodded. Like they understood. Like they'd heard it before. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still think about that camera, that hallway, that moment he turned his head, and the way it felt. Like he wasn't just inside the building, but aware of me, watching me, the same way I was watching him. And there's something else, something I didn't notice at the time, something I only realized later when I replayed the footage one last time, right before the screen froze, right before he turned completely. There was a second figure, far behind him, barely visible, standing deeper in the hallway, completely still, watching him. And now, I don't know what's worse. The thing on the camera, or whatever was standing behind it. I was told to ignore it, and for a while, I did. I worked night shifts in an old hospital, the kind of place that feels different after midnight. Too quiet, too still. like the building itself was holding its breath. During the day, it felt normal. Voices in the hallway, carts moving, distant conversations. But at night, everything slowed down. Sounds carried further, shadows felt deeper, and even the lights seemed colder. My floor was calm, nothing serious, just routine work, vitals, paperwork, the occasional call, the kind of shift where hours pass, but nothing really happens. But there was a wing at the end of the hallway that had been closed for years, or at least that's what they said. The doors were always shut, lights off, no activity, just a long stretch of dim hallway ending in darkness. No one went there. No one even looked at it for too long. One of the nurses told me once, in a low voice, "If you hear anything from there, don't go." She didn't smile, didn't explain, just said it and walked away. I laughed it off. Places like that always have stories. Abandoned wings, old patients, things people don't talk about. It didn't mean anything, at least that's what I told myself, until the sixth night. I was at the station, going through charts, barely paying attention to the time. The clock ticked softly on the wall. Everything felt normal. Then, a call bell. Sharp, sudden, echoing down the hallway. I looked up at the panel. Room 217. I frowned. That room was inside the closed wing. I stared at it, waiting for it to clear. Sometimes the system glitches, sometimes signals cross, but it didn't disappear, so I ignored it, or tried to. Then it came again. Same room. This time, it lingered, like someone was holding the button down. I looked toward the end of the hallway. The lights there seemed dimmer than usual. The darkness, deeper. I stood up, walked slowly, each step echoing louder than it should. When I reached the door, I stopped. It was closed, like always. But something had changed. The light under the door was on, not flickering, steady, alive. That had never happened before. I felt a chill run through me. Then I heard it. A voice. Soft, weak, barely there. "Mister." My body locked in place. Every instinct told me to walk away. "Please." The sound came from inside. Not loud, not urgent, but desperate, like it had been waiting. I forced myself to look through the small window. The hallway inside was empty, lights on, doors closed, no movement. But something felt wrong. The perspective didn't look right, like the hallway was longer than it should be. I stepped back. The call bell stopped. Silence rushed back in, heavier than before. I didn't go in. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself it was nothing. But the next night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The sound, the voice, the way it said please. So I went back, earlier this time. Before 2 a.m., I stood in front of the door, just listening. Nothing. Just that same deep silence. After a while, I reached for the handle. I expected resistance, a lock or something, but it turned easily. The door opened slowly, without a sound. The air inside was colder, thicker, like stepping into a space that hadn't been used in years, but somehow still wasn't empty. The lights flickered once, then stabilized. I stepped inside. The hallway stretched ahead, longer than I remembered seeing through the window. Too long, too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. The rooms were empty, beds covered, machines unplugged. Dust coated most surfaces, but not all. Some areas looked disturbed, subtle but noticeable. like something had brushed against him recently or passed through. I kept walking, slowly, carefully. Every step felt like it didn't belong there, until I reached room 217. The door was slightly open, just enough to see inside. I pushed it. The hinges creaked softly. The room was dim, but not dark. The bed was unmade, sheets twisted, pulled unevenly, like someone had struggled to move. The pillow was indented, fresh, too fresh. My chest tightened. On the table beside the bed, there was a glass of water, clear, still, no dust, no marks, like it had just been placed there. I stepped closer. The air felt heavier in the room, colder. I could hear my own breathing. Then, the call bell, right behind me. I turned. The button next to the bed was pressed down. Slowly, it lifted back up on its own. I froze. Mister. The voice again, closer, right behind me. I spun around immediately. Nothing. The doorway was empty. The hallway beyond, silent. But the feeling was overwhelming. Something was there, close, too close, watching, waiting. I backed out of the room, step by step, not turning around, not breaking eye contact with the empty space. Then I turned and walked, faster, out of the wing, back through the door, into the main hallway. The moment I crossed that threshold, the air felt normal again, like pressure lifting. I didn't go back. The next morning, I asked about it, tried to keep my voice steady, tried to sound like it didn't matter. That's when I found out, years ago, before the wing was closed, a patient had been left there, alone, for days. She kept calling for help, pressing the bell, again and again and again. But no one came. They thought she was confused, hallucinating, imagining things. They said she was hearing voices. By the time they checked, it was too late. No one said anything after that. No one needed to. Before I transferred, I checked the system one last time. I needed to see it. Room 217. Status? Occupied. No name, no record, no file, just that word. And one more thing. Logged every night at the same time. A call bell. Active. And to this day, I still don't know who answered that call or how long it had been waiting for someone to finally come inside.